Hi everyone. Welcome everyone to our solstice meeting. I'm going to give you some seconds so you can let us know if you can hear me, if everything is okay. So clearly in this new stage, we needed to do the transmission at 12:12 Argentina time. So thank you all for your patience, for having wait for 1 hour until we solve the problem. So let's begin with the summary of all things that I will try to summarize because we have so many things to talk about and I don't want for you to lose much time. So for those who are new in these transmissions, or maybe you see it, you watch it later and you don't know about it, I would like to start explaining why solstice is so important for us. So one of the main things that I have to say is for all those who are new, I will be translating myself in Spanish and English because 50% of the people that follow us is in English and 50% in Spanish. So to honor most of those audience, I do it in both languages. So I will ask for a lot of patience from your side and take the benefit of the time that I'm translating myself to assimilate what I just said in your language. So, so today is Solstice Day, and it's very important for us to know that there are 4 moments in the year, which is solstice and equinoxes, that limit the times of cycles in our year. So to put you all in context of why we say there are 4 stages in the year, and those are the real ones. But today we celebrate the new year in a very random day. And the reason why we celebrated the end of the cycle on December 31st and the beginning of the new cycle, the new year, in January 1st is basically because the Romans in Europe, they used to celebrate between 10 to 12 days of ceremonies because of the solstice. So during all those days, they were celebrating that the shorter days has ended and now the longer days starts to come back again. So they celebrated for those days the coming back of those longer days from the solstice. Okay, so that's why the last day, the day where the hangover ended, in that moment, the first one on not being hungover said, "Okay, we have to start working again." So, so it's like the Roman holidays. Okay, and then the year of activities started again. But the main day, the main important day, was the solstice. December 31st, nothing interesting actually happens astronomically. So what is a solstice? Solstice comes from the word sol stare, that means the sun is stayed. So the sun is stopped. And the reason why that happens is because of the movement of the Earth. There's 2 days in the year that the Earth is moving towards north along the year, and suddenly it stops. So in that moment, the sun also stops moving in the horizon. And because it stops, we perceived that the sun is still. So for 2-3 days, the sun will rise exactly in the same position, and then the Earth will move again to the opposite direction, which makes us notice that the sun is coming backwards. Okay, so because of this, we call those 2 days in the year solstice, the moment when the sun is still. And because of this situation that affects the entire planet, all the ancient traditions, the ancient humans that were using calendars according to what the stars and the sun was doing, we created this point of solstice as the end of a year, the end of the cycle, or the beginning of a new one. That is why the solstice is so important, because it means the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. So from the solstice, after those 3 days, we have the 24th. So the day 24th is the day when the ancient people used to see how the sun started to move again. So it was not still in one position, but now it moves again. So it means like it's nativity. It's been born again. So that's why we celebrate nativity or Christmas that day, because the sun is moving towards the longer days. So because of the globalization of Europe around the planet, we celebrate this as the birth of the sun again towards the longer days, but this is only for the northern hemisphere. In the south hemisphere, this doesn't make sense here because actually we are going to the shorter days from now on. So those who we live in the south. So that's why we cannot celebrate actually nativity in the south, because for us that nativity is actually in June. So because of this globalization, we have this common culture celebration that is the Christmas tree. And the Christmas tree is something like, for example, in Egypt, I was in Egypt, it's a Muslim country, but every hotel has a Christmas tree. And what is the origin of the Christmas tree? So because of the birth of humanity, the birth of the sun, every solstice of December, so one of the symbols that we used to use before every religion was to honor the tree of life. And the tree of life is a symbol that represents the entire world. Every branch represents a culture, every fruit represents a specific place in the planet. So it's a tree that expands with branches and roots everywhere in the sphere of the world, and that connects all information. So during nativity, the tree of life is like being born again, like it's growing again towards the new leaves for spring and so on. So that's why the symbol of the tree of life was very used in those traditions. So with the passage of time, what happened with the tree of life is that it was kind of forgotten by many cultures. So we started to celebrate, instead of the tree, certain gods. And that's how it changed, and we forgot about that tradition. But due to the globalization of Europe, the conscious idea of the tree, the unconscious idea of the tree, was set in every house during these weeks. So to put in context of what happened with the tree, when the people from Middle East and the Mediterranean Sea, they started to spread towards the center of Europe, two cultures collapsed. The Germanic people, the Celtic people, the Norse people, the Slavic people, they were all celebrating the solstice with a tree, with a pine covered with snow, aligned with the northern star. And this tree, Yggdrasil, was the one giving the knowledge to humanity. So we know now how to bring clarity, light again. So the longer days brings clarity, knowledge. So what they did was to interpret that the runes, the worlds of every god, was summarized in the runes, which are the fruits of the tree of life, which is the knowledge, the letters that gave us freedom. So those are the balls that we put, shiny balls that we put around the tree, hanging from the tree, covered in snow. That represents the north of Europe. But when the Mediterranean cultures clash with the Norse cultures, they brought the idea of the sun as Christ, and they mix it with putting the sun being born under the tree. So both traditions from the north and the south were united and connected. And that's how our tradition of putting the tree was born. So, of course, for the Norse people, the one that gave the gifts of knowledge to humanity was Odin. And Odin was someone coming from the North Pole with only one eye, beer, dress in blue, and he was the one coming from the tree to bring the gifts to humanity. And with the years, it changed its vision, and it became Santa Claus. So both traditions got united. So all of those are just traditions that we inherit. But what is the only truth from all of that is that today is solstice, which means the earth stands still. And then in 3 days, it starts to move backwards towards the south again. So that is actually what is physically happening and why it's so important, this date. So one of the traditions that I usually do since today is to use the runes as an oracle. And I put the runes around a tree or the planet. And what I do is to select randomly some of those runes, 2 for each month. One rune, the first one, is representing something that I want to give away, to release in this year. And the other rune is something that I want to obtain, that I want to gain in this new year. So as an oracle, I would choose 2 runes for every month. Okay, so one rune for January to release something, one other rune for January to receive something. So what I do is to like divide the circle of the tree in 12, and I put 1 at the beginning to release, 1 at the end to receive. You can look for the runes and the meanings so you know what is the oracle telling you that you have to release that month and what you have to open yourself to receive that month. So this is just a suggestion, that a tradition that you might use or not, but it can be helpful for you to organize the energy of the year. So what I would recommend for you to do, that you can put those 24 runes, 2 per every day, as a symbolism for the ceremony since today, starting the first day until December 31st. So you have the 12 days of this activation, 2 runes per each day. Or you can use January 1st until 12th. So you can also do it that way. So what I do is to write those intentions on a paper in each one of the runes, and those intentions, then the day 13th, after the whole process was done, I burn it all and bury it in the roots of the tree so it can be absorbed and grow as intention. But of course, we have something else that is important that I want to deliver today. See? Okay. I hope you can hear me now. Okay, so as I was saying, imagine that the tree of life is also the planet. So you have the roots in the south hemisphere and the branches in the north hemisphere. So now imagine that this Christmas tree, that is the planet Earth, it has specific nodes and places around the planet, like specific geometrical places that are related to islands, to mountains, to lakes, to holy places, that they represent the runes of this tree of life, of this Christmas tree. So, so we have then this huge tree around the planet. So in all these years that you have been following, I have been explaining constantly that this network here, the one that represents the grid of the planet, every node of it represents a node of information, a node of knowledge. So one of the things that I've been trying to do when I was traveling around the world and activating certain places is to bring the acknowledgement that in the same way we have our altars and we put some stones and we put some symbols and the things that are that has value for us, and we create like a portal or create a center of gravity that helps us to manifest something. So in the same way that we put the runes around the tree, we have to put stones around the planet. We have to connect all these points of information so we can give a meaning and interconnect the lines of information of the world. So what I have been doing during all these years was traveling around the world and trying to connect and anchor those places which are the nodes of the planet. But in 2024, the task was we have to bring those runes, those crystals or stones of power, to anchor that information in the nodes of the planet. So this year, what we have done is to send 15 people at each solstice and equinox to 5 places in each solstice and equinox, representing the 20 nodes of the Dodecahedron, or the centers of power of the icosahedron, which is 20. So these 20 places being sown and activated in this year. The task was to sow the runes in these 20 places. So to do it, the task was we need trinities, a holy trinity, to activate that specific information. So that's why to each one of those places since March, we have been sending 3 people to each one of those places, carrying 3 crystals, plus 1 that was unifying all. So what we have been doing, sowing these crystals, sowing these runes of information since March this year, 2024, until today, the solstice 2024, is anchoring the information of these runes around the globe in the same way as we are doing the ceremony for the end of the year, but not only for our 12 months of the next year, but for the next 12 years ahead. So today is the last delivery of the last runes, the last crystals in the net. That's what we are supporting here today, the delivery of these crystals. But today is the end of this task, which is sowing the crystals, but is the beginning of wiring the activation of the next 12 years in something that we call the Rainbow Bridge. So I recommend to you to go to our platform to check on Rama's Bridge path, because there I explain a little bit about what it means, this bridge, and why we are trying to do it again. So why have we created this meeting? First of all, because we are here to deliver the intention and the energy from all the people of the network to support, hold energetically these 15 people that are spread around the planet in these 5 nodes, which are the last ones that are going to be activated in the Tree of Life. So the 5 nodes that I have written here are NORFOLK Island, Island of St. Helen, Chatham Island, Mauritius Island. So the last one, which is very difficult to go, is Urvedlana Mountain or peak in Antarctica. So the closest spot to it where people could go is the southernmost point of Africa. So STRUISBAAI. So that's why they are there, connecting to Urvedlana in Antarctica. So to locate you in the map, the Norfolk Island is located exactly in the middle between Australia and the northern island of New Zealand. So that's the point. So St. Helen is a very tiny island that almost has nothing in it, and it's in the middle point between Angola, Namibia, with Brazil. So it's exactly in the middle point, in the middle of the oceanic dorsal and of the South Atlantic Ocean. So it's almost nothing around of it, but we managed to bring 3 of our walkers there to put the seeds. So the other island that is also difficult to go is Chatham Island, and it's the doorway, is the doorway to the Ross Sea from New Zealand. So it's at the east of New Zealand, very far from New Zealand, and it's the middle point before you reach the Ross Sea, one of the most difficult places to go in the world. It's only ocean, there's nothing. in the Pacific, South Pacific. So the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean, close to Madagascar, is not specifically the node, but it's very close to the node in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So it's one of the most beautiful places in the Indian Ocean. So as I said, the last one is very far from the node, but it's actually the closest spot where you could go, which is STRUISBAAI, the southernmost point of South Africa, that face directly to where the node is, which is Utbetlana Peak in Antarctica. So what we are going to do now is I will lead an alignment, I will guide an alignment in which we are going to shape the structure of the geometry in our bodies so we could embody the energy of what we are sending to those places. So then we can all together from wherever you are in the planet send your support, energetical support to the physical and energetical body of the 15 people that are in these 5 places. So the network is sowing these seeds together, not just them. This tree of life that we are activating and the portals of our planet is connected by the inside of this rainbow of 7 colors within our body and 5 colors outside our body. This is the rainbow bridge that we hold within that can only activate when this planet in every joint is perfectly located at each node. When this planet is aligned, when this tree of life, Earth, is aligned, the rainbow bridge activates towards other trees of life in other worlds. This tree of life that we are is also contained by another huge tree of life, which is the one of the solar system that is being held by the sun. The branches of the tree in the north is the north magnetical pole of the sun, and the roots are the south magnetical pole, holding the fruits around the branches of the tree, which are the planets, the moons, and the asteroids. From this January 25th till February 28th, a rainbow bridge of chakras in the skies will be formed. It's a rainbow of the chakras of the tree of life of the solar system. From the point of view of Earth, all the chakras of the sun, every planet, every color will be aligned, and we are going to be able to see them in a straight line, creating a bow. And during that time, we are going to be aligning with this new rainbow bridge. This is why, astronomically, this is the beginning of our new task for the next 12 years, which is to build the rainbow bridge. This next March 2025, we are going to realign and reset the intention for the new task by opening the medicine of the trauma that we have generated and we tried to heal with Chicxulub in Yucatán when the asteroid hit us and changed the history, the course of history of Earth. This March, we are going to come back to Yucatán, but this time to retune a new symphony, a new symphony. So we extend an invitation to everybody for this March, in this equinox, to come all together to rewire the trauma of Chicxulub towards a new rainbow bridge in the future. So this time it's not going to be a closed event, but something more open. So more people could come, so we could actually start to build this new task. So our task in 2025 is going to be to prepare everyone to understand how the task of the rainbow bridge will work. But the actual mission will start in the equinox of 2026, ending in the solstice of 2026. 2028 to prepare the Rainbow Bridge before the cross of Apophis, the asteroid, in April 13th, 2029. This is the first stage of our task. So along these next days, slowly, we are going to be sharing and preparing to everyone to understand what is the task of the Rainbow Bridge, so we can all understand this 2025 as the year of preparation for the mission, the planetary mission, before Apophis cross our skies. So with this, today, we conclude the task of 12 years, starting in 2012 with the delivery of the keys in the Kundalini of the planet, and now the delivery of the crystals at the gates, the portals of this tree of life, which is our world. So in the next weeks, we're going to start building the idea of what is to create the Rainbow Bridge, so we can build up every concept of the next planetary task. Thank you everybody for being there, for supporting, and thank you for those walkers that have been traveling to the most complicated nodes of the planet to deliver the crystals. And thank you everybody for being in service of this task. So as usual, every day, every month, every year, we're going to be transforming ourselves so we can give a structure to this new stage of our path. So that's why we ask for you, for your support, for your company to spread this information and this consciousness in every corner of our planet. Thank you everybody for being there and for walking all together this path towards the I Am. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hen Ath.